Hello, hello. Welcome to the very first episode of Phone and a Friend with me, Charlize, and my girl Ayana, where we talk identity, dating, and social matters, any and everything through the Christian lens. So this episode is going to be real fun. We're going to be talking about a relationship with God, really knowing his character, and what that means to you. Without further ado, let's hop into this quick cue. Bars.
Okay, so each quick cue is connected to the topic of the episode, and you can answer that question by commenting on the latest post on our Instagram page. So our quick cue today is, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of God? Not the word God, but who he is. What is the first thing that comes to your mind? Don't forget to head over to our Instagram and answer that question for us. But Shar, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of God?
Gracious. Very, very gracious and patient. So when I think about my life and everything that I've done in my life, and I think about my relationship with God, how I've come to this point, I just think about how patient the Lord has been with me, because I couldn't do it, man. I'm telling you that Charlize, I'm very annoying. I couldn't put up with it. So I can't imagine being responsible for putting up with each and every person in this world and our individual personalities. So when I think about myself, I am just extremely grateful that there is a God that's willing to be patient with me. Yeah. Because there are parts of myself that I don't see how anyone could deal with. And that's the truth. What about you?
For me, more recently, especially, 2 words: compassionate and kind. It blows my mind how kind Jesus is. Like, I've been on a journey of really trying to understand who he is, not just his actions and what he's done for me and what he's done for us. Because it's easy to just know those things in the back of your head and not fully come into the realization of that. Like, yeah, I know he died on the cross for my sins. It's like, it's just what you know.
Yeah.
Common knowledge. Oh yeah, he died on the cross for me. Everybody knows that. But fully realizing that this is something that actually happened. But even outside of that, so I've been trying to step outside of that and really understand him and know his character, and reading everything that he's done in the 4 Gospels and taking a second not just to learn the lesson of what he's trying to get across to us, but this time paying more attention to the why and paying attention to how he handles the people that he came in contact with, how he handles us, how kind he is, despite the things that we might have done, how gentle he approaches us. So yeah, those are the 2 biggest things that come to mind for me now: compassionate and kind, because that's just who he is to me.
Yeah. I'm just going to piggyback off of the idea that you shared about us knowing about Jesus and what he's done for us versus understanding it in its entirety. So as Christians, we regurgitate things all the time. We know about the resurrection. We know God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, and it just kind of turns into this redundant type of, I don't even know what you would call it, that you just keep repeating over and over and over again. It's not enough to just know what God's done for you, but understanding it and making it a part of you, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Making that a part of your relationship. The other thing I was going to say is, when I think about God, I think of the ultimate comedian. Like, God is so funny. It's not even funny.
Yeah, quite a humor on him. He's got quite the humor.
Talk about irony and sarcasm, at its best. It's like, this is quality stuff here. And it's just amazing how you can see you can find humor even in the most painful situations in your life. That's been something that's been big in my life.
Yeah. So when it comes to actually learning who God is and stepping into knowing him and not just knowing of him, what are some things that you can recall doing at the beginning of your walk, or even more recently, because it's definitely been more recent for me? What are some things that you've done to like help you understand him as a person, you know, and not just an idea?
Yeah, well, like I said, recognizing his humor, recognizing his compassion, but also treating him how I would treat a lover, how I would treat a friend, a sister, or a brother.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we kind of talked about this in the last episode, I believe. You wouldn't go all day without talking to your mother, or you wouldn't go all day without talking to your lover. So
Mm-hmm.
I try to channel that same energy,
Mm-hmm.
if you will, and I try to keep that in the back of my mind. Like, yes, God is the God of the universe, but also, you know, God is your friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if you just, something little is bothering you, like, man, you know, I really messed this up. You know, Jesus, I'm not feeling that great about that decision. I really messed that up. And I think that's one of the easier ways to start really pressing into your relationship with God. And I'm not saying don't pick up your Bible, but before you even pick up the Bible or start going to church, you need to acknowledge the fact that, God, you are in my life as these many different entities, not just one. You know,
Mm-hmm.
You're not just my Heavenly Father. You're my friend, but you're not just my friend. You're my lover. It's one of those things.
Yeah. You know, like you said, some people might be like, what do you mean before the Bible? But one thing that I've learned as I started getting closer with him is that you need to know him to even understand his word. Because when I was younger and I called myself trying to read the Bible before I started taking my walk seriously, just like being younger and thinking, I should probably be reading the Bible. When I tell you, I was just reading that thing and getting nothing out of it, like zero. And then even once I did start taking my walk more seriously, still at the very beginning, reading and not understanding. And it wasn't until I was intentional in praying and talking with him, you know, because it takes that relationship to understand the word better. And as you do that, he's going to open your eyes to things. He'll use the word to speak to you. Certain things that you've read before will stand out in a whole new way. So yeah, getting to know him as a person before, you know, jumping into all the things that you feel like you should be doing as a Christian, like reading the Bible and going to church and all of that. Because yes, of course, he wants us to do those things, but more than anything, he wants relationship with you. And that's so mind-blowing to me. Like,
yeah,
it's so mind-blowing to know how much he wants relationship with us.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, you can find out who God is in his word. So we're definitely not saying don't read your word. If you want to know who God is, be in the word.
Right.
But also, like what you said, I can definitely attest to that myself. Just reading the Bible, but like on an empty heart almost, and not taking anything from it. So if you go to the Bible looking to learn God's character and you're coming up and you find that you're not getting anything out of it, you know, you might want to look at your heart first. Ask yourself if your heart is in the right place first. Is my heart and mind open enough to receive, you know, or take on another relationship, and that relationship being the most important relationship, the one with God.
Yeah. I've been starting off my time with God in worship, just like ushering him in and acknowledging him and opening myself up to him. And then, you know, after that, I can expect.
I used to read my word just to say that I read my word for the day. It's not like anybody was asking me, did you read your word today? I just wanted to say to myself, I felt like I felt accomplished that I read my word today. I'm like, see, God, I'm doing your will. I read my word today. Got nothing from it. Nothing at all.
Yeah. And so I think the gist of what we're saying here is do these things together alongside each other. So yeah, read your word. Yes, worship. Yes, pray. Just make sure God is in the mix. And these aren't just actions that you're doing, to check off. Like she said, I read my word today, include God in that, because that's the point. It's getting into his presence and having relationship with him.
Yeah. And just think of it as any other relationship. Doing too much of anything, it's not a balanced relationship. Okay, you're reading your word, but that's all you do. So now you're not really in tune with God, or you're in tune with God, but you don't read your word. So now you have questions, or you're wondering, you want to learn more, but you haven't learned.
No, yeah, definitely. Because if you're not reading the word at all and you're like, okay, but I have a relationship with God, the word is also, it's like the manual. It's going to teach us how to walk this thing out. It guides us and it teaches us things. It's a guide. Mm-hmm. I mean, I said it already, but I'll say it again to reiterate. It shows us how to walk this thing out. So we need that instruction along with our relationship with God. So again, all these things work together. And I've definitely fallen victim to feeling like sometimes it's hard to keep up. That's very true. I feel like, once I get good in one area, I slip in another area. So yeah, I'm reading my word more, but now I'm not worshiping enough, or now I'm worshiping enough and now I'm not reading my word enough, or I'm doing these things and I'm not praying as much as I used to. And it kind of felt like sometimes, you ever seen like in a show or a cartoon where they're using their hand to plug holes in the wall? Like there's like water, a leak shooting out of holes, and you only got two hands and there's 3 holes, and every time you plug the other hole, the water starts shooting out of the one that you let go of.
What a great analogy.
I'm about to say, y'all know what I mean. But it definitely has felt like that sometimes. And that's another thing where knowing God comes in handy, because I know that he's not looking down on me for that. He looks at the heart and he sees what my intentions are. And as long as I bring that to him and I'm open about it, like, hey, I know I'm slipping in certain areas, but I'm working on getting back there. He's not looking down at you like, yeah, I see you praying and I see you doing this, but you're not reading your word. He's not doing that. He's not condemning us, So that's what I have to remind myself every time I feel like I'm slipping in certain areas. I bring it to him. And I'm like, listen, I know this is like day 3 of me not getting around to reading the word, and I trust from what I've been learning in my relationship with him that I'm going to be met with compassion. I'm going to be met with gentleness. And that's not to say that what I've been doing is okay and it's just going to be completely disregarded. But it's like, okay, I see you. I understand you. And now let's get up and try again. Not just complete, oh, that's fine, don't worry about it, because that's not what I'm saying at all. But when I mean that I can bring that to him and he's not going to judge me and he's going to meet me with compassion, it's that he understands us. He meets us with understanding is what I'm trying to say. So it's, I understand. Or even prompting me with questions of, what can you do? He makes me think. He makes me think, okay, maybe there's something I've got to shift. Maybe there's something I'm giving my time to that, could stand to be reduced, like scrolling on my phone, because I do it a lot.
Don't we all?
But he works with us. He meets us where we're at, and he doesn't leave us there. He meets us where we are, but then he takes your hand and he's like, okay, now let's move forward. I met you here, but we're not staying here.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was literally going to say, he will literally come to us, meet us where we are. Lord knows I've fallen off trying to get back in it with work and the baby and everything like that. And not to bring up a bunch of excuses or anything like that. Just to say that life, it changes. It's constantly changing and our circumstances are constantly changing. So we have to adjust to that. Yeah. I don't really have much else to say. It's kind of just listening to what you were saying. Sometimes it's nice to just listen, though. Mm-hmm. So God meets us where we are. Nobody's perfect, and that's kind of the point of this entire Christian walk, that we're not perfect. Because if we were, we wouldn't have needed Jesus Christ to be that ultimate sacrifice for us. And that is going to be where you start your relationship. Understanding that I'm not perfect, I have imperfections, but knowing that you need God, you need that foundation to stand on, because you won't be able to make it in this world without that foundation. Mm-hmm. Then you go from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no blueprint to this walk. No blueprint, as hard as I tried to find one. And Shar, you remember this, in the beginning of my walk, I was really excited at first, I was, it's new and it's exciting, and I was watching sermons all the time. Mm-hmm. I was just always listening to Christian YouTubers, just feeling like I want more of this, and learning and hearing other people's experiences. And something that I struggled with so much was taking or looking at other people's Christian experiences and wanting that to be my experience. And then when it wasn't, being disappointed. I had to learn who God is to me specifically, because our relationship with God is not going to look like someone else's relationship with God. And so I would look at the different ways that people would say God spoke to them, or the ways in which he gave them a sign. And then I'd decide, you know what? I want that. I'm going to try it. And then when it didn't happen, being disappointed and wondering what it is I'm doing wrong. And it's like, he communicates with each of us so specifically, and he's intentional, and he knows us. And so I had to build my own relationship instead of trying to mooch off of someone else's experience and take it on for myself. And yeah, I don't even know if that's the word to use, but Shar, do you remember me talking about that? Someone talking about hearing the audible voice of God, and I got so hung up on that for so long.
Yes, I do. You were so upset.
I was so upset, and I was just like, I want him to speak to me in that way. So I had to stop being so focused on how he speaks to other people and cultivate my relationship with him, and recognize the times that he is speaking to me. The way he speaks to me is so personal to me, because I am a very observant person. I notice and pay attention to everything. So little things that other people call coincidences, and it's so popular in the church that people say there's no such thing as coincidences, it's all God. And people debate that. Y'all could debate that if y'all want. I'm not getting into that. But for me specifically, I pay attention to timing a lot. The timing in which things happen. And because that's who I am, I've noticed he uses that to speak to me. So what he'll do, and maybe I can give an example here. I'm realizing, and I've talked to you about this, Shar.
Yeah.
But I started feeling as though speaking is the way that he's going to use me, which for one, I was just like, why? You created me. You know how shy I am. Why would you, of all the things, this? And not just in the podcast. I've been reading my word and gotten specific messages. I don't like to call them sermons, because when you say sermons, it's like now it's under the scope of preaching, and that idea is just too daunting for me at the moment. But he's given me specific messages. So there was one time that he was really teaching me to not focus on myself so much and not be so self-focused. And the idea of it's not about you kept coming up. And then one night I was just like, it's not about you. That sounds like a good title for a message. And I kid you not, I heard it's not about you immediately after that, like over and over again. And so things like that, those confirmations, the timing in which he does it, things happening immediately after I say it, that's something that I've noticed is how he speaks to me.
I think about, not thinking about ourselves. We really do have to be selfless on this walk. Like, it's, in all honesty, it's hard to, because we can be selfish at times when we don't even realize it. Like I said before, with so much going on in life, we're in this pandemic. So we've got our families and friends to think about. We've got our own health to think about. It's hard to not be selfish. Mm-hmm. But one thing that being on this journey has taught me, and less a better word, is that it's not about you.
Right? You see?
Like, at all.
Yeah. I've heard it said that when he has a will over your life, it's more about what he's going to do through you than what he's going to do to you. Mm-hmm. So we think about his will like, what are you going to do for me in my life? What's this going to look like? And it's more so about who he's going to touch through you. And that whole it's not about you thing came up because me and my fear of speaking has always been, or rather, it's never been about speaking. It's been about me being concerned what people think of me when I'm speaking. Mm-hmm. So all me focused instead of focused on the message that I'm speaking, even my job, not focusing on the information that I have to get out to the students, but worried about, did I say everything right? What do they think of me? And so he's had to teach me, listen, this is not about you. And that's something that he's working out of me. And that also comes through him validating and affirming me himself, that I don't need it when I have to stand in front of people and speak. I'm not so focused on what they think of me because I've already been affirmed by him before I walked out here.
Yeah. One thing I can say about sticking closely to God while you are on this journey, like actually having an authentic relationship, is he gives you something to be on fire about. Like, a lot of times we get so weary and tired. I like how you said at work, you're thinking about yourself all the time, and that's enough. You'll think enough about your problems to drive yourself crazy, let alone thinking about your family's problems or any other outside factors. But it's crazy because I don't think not once while I've been at work, have I actually thought about how my work affects other people. And that is not good. Because literally what I do is, well, I'm not going to go into what I do, but I'm a journalist. So literally what I do affects the public.
Yeah, it has
many
an impact.
People. Yeah. So the fact that, and I'm not going to say ever, I used to early on. And then you get into the job, you get the ball rolling. Next thing you know, you're going. And next thing you know, you're worried about, did I do this good enough? What's the editor going to think? And it gets to be too much. And you kind of lose that fire sometimes. You kind of lose a fire for everything, for your relationship with God. Mm-hmm. It's happened to me. I've been weary many times where I felt like, God, what's going on? I feel like I'm not on fire. Relight that flame, rekindle this relationship. Mm-hmm. And I find that when I do feel like that, getting back into worship, not forcing my nose in the word. And I don't want to sound like I'm stressing to people like not to read their word, because guys, that is not what I'm saying at all. You need that word. That is going to be your food. But what I do know, me personally, I've felt pressure from outside to read my word, and I've gotten nothing from it, opposed to me being on fire and wanting to know more about God's character and look into that book to do so. It means so much more when your heart is in it. And that's what I'm trying to stress. Mm-hmm. And I hope that that's being conveyed. I feel like I've gone on a tangent, but I feel like I needed to get that out. Because I'm, in the middle of transitioning in my life. I'm still a new parent, so I'm trying to get back into it. And I need fire,
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. And I think everyone can, because I think it happens to all of us. You have periods where you're on fire and you have periods where you're lukewarm. It happens. I found myself getting tired of it. Like, I can be doing good for a stretch of time, and then all of a sudden I just don't feel like it, or all of a sudden I just don't feel motivated. But in those moments, what helps me, and maybe it'll help you or anyone else who might be in a period where they feel like I'm just not on fire, is getting out of And this is actually a piece of advice that you gave me in one of those stale moments of mine. So now I get to give it back to you. This is great. Getting out of the routine of trying to do the things that you normally do. Maybe you just got to switch up your routine. Something that I did recently when I felt like I didn't feel that fire to read the word and to learn. What's been helping me is I have this little gratitude journal. And starting each day, just being thankful. And when I tell you, it's so crazy to see how things change when you do that. Like mind blowing. I'm not selling y'all a story. Mind blowing. If you're not feeling like, doing the things that you normally do, being grateful, whether it's in prayer, but coming into his presence, thankful, changes things. And it's shifted my heart personally when I didn't feel like I was in it. I felt not motivated, but coming into his presence thankful and focusing on his presence and not on all the things that I haven't been able to do that I usually do. Cause that can trip us up sometimes. Usually I get up and I worship and I read my word for 30 minutes and I do this and I do that. And then when you're not able to do those things in the way that you used to, you start to beat yourself up. But in those moments, focus on his presence. Time with him is time with him. Yeah. Regardless of how you spend it, even if you just sit in his presence and be thankful, even if you can't think of anything in the moment, if you've got to get as basic as it is, thank you for waking me up. Thank you that my limbs work. Thank you that when you can't think of anything else, go to the basics, the very basics, because that is something to be thankful for. It might not feel like it because you're used to having these things. You're used to your limbs working. And that's worship too. Thankfulness is worship.
Yeah. Utilizing the gifts that he's given you in general is worship, and just showing that you're grateful for it. Like I just last week, I think I've had this position that I'm in now for almost a year now. Coming up in March, it'll have been a year I've been working here. And I have not done any personal writing since then. And I keep saying, I'm gonna write something. Maybe I want to publish something and everything. But then I'm just like, you know what? No, why am I like holding off to write something so amazing when before all of this, before this job and school and all of that, all I had was the Lord and my writing. That's all I had was God and my writing. And so just last week, I just sat down and did some journaling. And the minute my pen hit that paper, it just felt amazing. I don't know if any writers are out there. You know that feeling, how it feels when you just take a heavy load off and you just write in. You're not worried about who sees it. You're not worried about if it makes any sense. Just straight word vomit. Just free flow. And it reminded me, I'm just like, well, no wonder I'm not on fire. I'm not even doing or giving you thanks with the blessings that you've given me. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I've been blessed to be, pretty good. I'm pretty all right writer. And I feel like that's my blessing, and I haven't even given it back to you in a year. And also, too, I'm going to piggyback off. I'm so glad you gave me my advice back. I've never said it to my boyfriend, but we were having a conversation. I'm like, wait a minute, that sounds like something I said one time. He actually said something similar to me. I was like, yeah, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to do, because if you know me, I have a list for everything. I'm like,
Lord, she is not lying.
Listen, I have everything to the T. I wouldn't be surprised if breathing wasn't on one of my lists at some point. But so I have a list for everything. And so I was telling him, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to get some work done, and then I'm going to pump, and then when the baby wakes up, I have milk for him, and then I'm going to feed him, and that'll be about 2 hours, and I'm going on and on and on. And then right in between here, I'm going to read my word, get a little worship in, and I'm going to go back to sleep, and I'm going off. And he's just looking at me. Like, literally, he's just staring at me. And he's like, yeah, I used to do that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I used to like read my word, like have a set schedule. He was like, and then I stopped doing that. He was like, and when I stopped doing that, I felt more connected than ever before. So now he reads his word. He reads his word every day, but he never has a set time when he reads it. Like sometimes he's TMI, but sometimes he goes to the bathroom and he takes it with him, like reading your newspaper on the toilet. Well, he does that. He'll be reading it while he's eating. He'll read it sometimes after he's done jogging. He'll watch TV, and then after that he'll go read, but he always reads it every day. But he doesn't have a set schedule. He just opens it and reads it, and then he comes back to me and tells me, it's crazy, I was looking at this word, and I wish, and maybe I will be able to do that at some point. I want my relationship to get to that point where I can just say, I'm going to pick up my word.
And you know what? I think that's what he's trying to pull you out of your routine, maybe. Yeah. Maybe you're not feeling the fire for it because you're trying to fit it into your schedule. Maybe he's trying to get you to loosen the reins a little bit. And just, I'm trying to think of how to wrap that more nicely.
No, I hear you. One of the things that my pastor says at my church, and I love it, he talks about how we as humans, we are just so limited. Our minds, our lives, like our minds are so finite. And we try to fit an infinite God into a small little box. And he can't be. So I'm trying to fit God into my schedule when I should be trying to align my schedule with his.
Yeah. Also, I had the issue of, I have my time with him, right? And I always spend time with him in my room, because let me tell you, if I'm ever outside of my room, when I tell you every distraction known to mankind, I just have to lock myself in my room because it's impossible. And I love our living room. I love the little area by the window. We've got this little nook area by our window. And when we moved in, I was just like, oh, I can't wait to sit here and read my word every morning. It doesn't work. As beautiful as that space is, I just have to be in my room because it's next to impossible. But anywho, so I spend my time with him, and then I have a bad habit of, after spending my time with him, going the entire day without speaking to him again until I'm getting ready to go to bed. And then I gotta, oh yeah, here you are. Forgot about you, which is terrible. Well, not terrible for anybody else who might be doing that, but I was like, goodness, I've really gotta get out of that. And recognizing him as my constant companion. So when I leave my room in the morning to start my day, I'm not leaving him behind in my bedroom. Yeah. He's coming with me. I can talk to him throughout my day. So I've been making it a habit of speaking to him throughout the day and reminding myself, he's with you. Talk to him.
And I think we talked about, I know we talked about this before. Because I remember I was telling you, I could understand and relate because I do the same thing. And then I think I said, like, I started just pulling him in and acknowledging him in little things. Like, oh, Lord, I put too much honey in that. Just having a regular conversation the way I would with my boyfriend or anybody else who was next to me. Like, girl, I put too much honey in it. Like, doing that with God.
I love that. With me, it's so cheesy. I would just, even if I didn't have anything to say, if I remembered him in the moment, I'll be working, right? And it's like a little tug, like, hey, I'm here. Like, and I've asked him to do that. And so the fact that he does it, it's just, he's amazing. Yeah. But so I'm like, just like remind me of you. Just like, so I could just be in the middle of typing and then I remember him randomly. And then I'm like, I don't really have anything to say, but hi, I acknowledge you.
We probably sound like two nut bags right now, but
I'm telling you, he's gotten a lot of random highs throughout my day. Just like I don't know what to say right now, but I'm remembering, like, you came into my mind, so I just wanted to say hi. And you know what? That don't even gotta be weird, because when it comes from a significant other, we would think that is so sweet. You going about your work day, and then your significant other randomly texts you. You're just on my mind, wanted to say hey. We would be floored. Listen, as women, we would be floored. So I think he appreciates my random highs throughout the day. Like, I'm thinking of you, and hi. I don't really have anything to talk about at this moment, but hi. I acknowledge you.
That's me all the time, all day. My boyfriend does that, so he'll text me, missing you, with the hearts. And I'm like,
how cute. I'm joking.
I'm like, that is so nice. I'm like, we just two cheesy people. He's like, yeah, grilled cheese. I'm like, yeah, mac and cheese.
And all of
we
us
go back and forth.
And all of us single folks rolled our eyes. But continue.
Yeah, we went on a tangent. But we gotta love it, guys. So yeah, but I found that when I would do that and just have fun with the relationship, those were the times when I was like really like I had that flame lit within me. And I just was enjoying the relationship. Like, it didn't feel forced. It was natural. I was reading my word. I was writing. And my personal life was good too. Work was good too. So I was just happier. And especially now, like, any parents out there, I mean, any mothers out there, if you just had a baby, you know, you might be familiar with like postpartum. So I need to be happy right now. To be honest. So yeah, you know what, guys? I'm gonna actually try that in next episode. I'm trying to do that again, and I'm gonna come back and let y'all know how it went next episode. Ayana, please remind me.
I will. I'm gonna text you every morning, like, hey, remember what we said?
You've been talking to God? Yeah. You've been talking.
But yeah, just to encourage anyone who might be having that, you know, that still moment of, I feel like the flame has begun to fade out. Just focus on being in his presence. Even if you're not able to do all the things that you would usually do, or you're not feeling that motivation, get into his presence and enjoy his presence, and you'll feel that flame start to reignite.
And if you're hesitating to start a relationship with God, I promise you, you won't regret it. You won't.
You won't. And so let's talk about that. Beginning your relationship. For me, that started way after salvation, if I'm being honest. So, Char, how did your relationship with God start?
I actually accepted God. I'll never forget it. Very, very young, while I was in 3rd grade. And I went to Catholic school, right? But I never really, related to it, like the faith, I'll say. That's what the it is. All my grandparents are very, very religious. They were in the church and everything like that. And they made us go. We went to Sunday school and, the whole 9. I never really felt much. It's just like, that's just what you do. So when I was in 3rd grade, my 3rd grade teacher, she had a son, and I forget what condition that he had, but he was in a wheelchair basically, and it was a neurological condition. So he had some brain damage and he could not care for himself. So basically, one day, I forget how this subject came about. We were talking, and it might have been a religion class. Like I said, we were in 3rd grade. We might have been talking about religion. And she broke down. She started crying. Like, there were tears with joy, though. She was talking about her son. And she was saying how grateful she was and how we needed to know Jesus for ourselves. And just how powerful her relationship has been with him. Even with all that's gone on with her son, how happy she is. And that alone, just watching a mother talk about her son and talk about her relationship with God to that extreme was just enough to really move my heart. And I'm just like, wow. So I sat there.
And so young too.
Yeah, it got to me. I'm like, whoa, that's it's heavy. So I sat there in my chair in the 3rd grade, and I remember it. I said, God, I want that. I want that. And that was it. And I didn't pick it back up till much later, taking it seriously, because I was a kid. But I'll never forget that day, and I always come back to it and just reassess how I was feeling in that moment. Listen, if you are saved and you're wondering, okay, so where do I go from here? How do I progress on this walk? Prayer is definitely going to be very important. It's communication between you and God. So prayer is going to be your number one outlet. And it doesn't have to be long. You don't have to be, face to the floor for hours. A simple prayer with authentic intentions in your heart will suffice. And then as you grow stronger, see, the Lord knows us. So as you grow, everything else falls into line. You start with little prayers. Then your prayers get longer. They get more intimate. Then you start reading your word. Then you start to understand your word. So you get hungry for more. And it progresses from there. And you literally change from the inside out. That's how a relationship progresses.
Yeah, definitely. And like we said before, there's no set, step 1. I mean, the step 1 is the same for everybody. But what step 2, 3, and 4 might look like for you might be different for what it looked like for other people. So, like she said, prayer is going to be that outlet for you. Through prayer and through your communication with God, He'll guide you the rest of the path.
And your path is not going to look like anyone else's. It's your own individual journey. So make it your own and accept that it's your own. Don't try to take anybody else's and make it your own. Trust me, it won't work.
Like I did.
It won't work.
It will not work.
It won't. Wow. Okay. This has been a great conversation, guys. I hope that you got something out of it. I hope that this has encouraged you to dig deeper into your relationship with God, or start your relationship with God, or even think about it in a different mindset,
Yeah.
I know I'm definitely leaving with some food for thought, and I hope you all are as well. Thank you for coming to chill with us one more time. We pray that you and your families remain blessed and safe during this pandemic. And, we know this walk with Christ ain't easy. So we're here for that community once again. And we'll see y'all next time.